Yeah, okay.
Good evening, and welcome to Chaos Theater's Thursday read of When You Comin' Back, Red Ryder, written by Mark Medoff. I have a very deep connection to this play. It was the first play I saw in my hometown of Las Cruces, New Mexico, where Mark Medoff was the head of the theater program. So I'm honored, and thanks to Val for giving me a shot at putting this together with a fine group of actors.
And tune in next week as we read an original play by one of our own at Chaos Theater Collective, Brian Davis, and his play Lex Talionis. And don't ask us how to spell it, it's Latin.
When You Comin' Back, Red Ryder, Mark Medoff. Setting is a diner on the desert in southern New Mexico. 6 stools, 3 tables, a jukebox. On one of the windows, Foster's Diners, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. The lettering has begun to chip away, and though the diner is clean, its day has gone. Act 1. The jukebox plays. Morning lights come through the windows. A boy, 19, Stephen, red, sits at the far end of the counter reading a newspaper, his back against the partition, his feet propped on the second stool, the newspaper tabled by his thighs and knees. He smokes Raleigh cigarettes and has a tattoo, "Born Dead," on his forearm. The clock behind the counter reads 6:05. Stephen glances at it, then out the window, then at his own watch. Stephen hears someone coming. He knows who it is. He moves to the jukebox, reaches behind it, and rejects the record that's playing. He takes his stool again and raises the newspaper so that it covers his face. Angel enters. She is perhaps several years older than Stephen. She wears a wedding band on the ring finger of her right hand. She carries a very small purse.
Good morning, Stephen. Sorry I'm late. My mom and me, our daily fight was a little off schedule today. I said I'm sorry, Stephen. God, I'm only 6 minutes late.
Only 6 minutes, huh? I got 6 minutes to just hang around this joint when my shift's up, right? This is really the kind of dump I'm gonna hang around in my spare time, ain't it?
Stephen, that's the paper cup you got coffee in?
Clark can afford it, believe me.
That's not the point, Stephen.
Oh no? You're gonna tell me the point though, right? Hold it, give me a pencil.
The point is that if you're drinking your coffee here, you're supposed to use a glass cup. And if it's to go, you're supposed to get charged 15 instead of 10. And you got one of those 5-cent paper cups to take it with you with. That's the point, Stephen.
Yeah, well, I'm taking it with me, so where's the problem?
Stephen has taken the last cigarette from a pack, slipped the coupon into his shirt pocket, and crumpled the pack. He basketball shoots it across the service area.
Stephen!
She retrieves the pack and begins her morning routine of filling salt and pepper shakers, the sugar dispensers, setting out placemats, and cleaning up the mess Stephen evidently leaves for her each morning. Stephen reaches over and underneath the counter and pulls up a half-empty carton of Raleighs and slides out a fresh pack. He returns the carton and slaps the new pack down on the counter.
What you gonna get with your cigarette coupon, Stephen? Stephen?
How many times I'm gonna tell you don't call me Steven?
I don't like calling you red. It's stupid, calling someone with brown hair red.
It's my name, ain't it? I don't like Steven. I like red. When I was a kid, I had red hair.
But you don't now. Now you got brown hair.
But then I did, and that's what counts.
Who says then what counts?
The person that's doing the counting, namely yours truly. I don't call you Caroline or Madge, do I?
Because those aren't my name. My name's Angel, so...
Yeah? Well, you don't look like no angel to me.
Can't help that, Stephen. At least I was named my name at birth. Nobody asked me if I mind being named Angel, but at least.
You could change it, couldn't you?
What for? To what?
To Mabel.
How come Mabel?
Yeah, Mabel.
How come?
I
You
hate
like
Mabel. I hate Mabel.
Look, Stephen, if you're in such a big hurry to get out of here, how come you're just like sitting around cleaning your teeth?
Hey, look, I'll be gone in a minute. I mean, if it's too much to ask if I have a cigarette and a cup of coffee in peace, for Christ's sake, just say so. Person's supposed to unwind for 2 minutes a day in case you ain't read the latest medical report. If it's too much to ask to just let me sit here in peace for 2 minutes, then say so. I wouldn't want to take up a stool somebody was waiting for or anything. Christ, will you look at the waiting line to get on this stool?
Did you notice what was playing at the films?
A bunch of crap. What do you think?
I saw you circle something in the gift book the other morning.
What gift book?
The Rowley coupon gift book?
Hey, come on. Come here.
Angel advances close to him. He snatches the pencil from behind her ear and draws a circle in the newspaper.
There. Now I just drew a circle on the newspaper. That mean I'm gonna get me that car?
Come on, Stephen, tell me. What you gonna get?
Christ, why do you care what I'm gonna get?
Stephen, I'm not the FBI or somebody. But what are you so upset about? Just tell me what you're gonna get.
Backpack.
What?
What do you got, home fries in your ears?
It's just that I didn't hear what you said is all.
Backpack.
Who's getting a backpack?
Guy down the end of the counter. Chingado, the Chicano. He's hitching to Guatemala.
You're getting a backpack? How come?
Who do people usually get a backpack for?
You're gonna go camping.
No, I ain't gonna go camping. I'm gonna go getting the hell out of this lousy little town. That's where I'm gonna go camping.
When? I mean, when?
When? Just as soon as I get something taken care of.
When will that be?
When will that be? When I get it taken care of. When do you think? Let me have a donut?
Where are you gonna go?
Where am I gonna go? I'm gonna go hitching that way. Or I'm gonna go hitching that way. And when I get to some place that don't still smell of Turbville here, I'm gonna get me a decent job and I'm gonna make me some bread.
Rye or whole wheat, Stephen? Rye or whole wheat, Stephen?
This is some donut. I think they glued the crumbs together with Elmer's.
Rye or whole wheat, Stephen?
Believe me, that ain't funny.
Don't talk with your mouth full.
Christ, my coffee's cold. How you like that?
She pours him a fresh cup of coffee in a mug. She sets it down by him. He looks at it a minute, then pours the coffee from the mug into his paper cup.
I told you. I'm leaving in less than 2 minutes.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
Better let your hair grow and get some different clothes if you're going to hitch somewhere, Stephen. You're out of style. Nobody's going to pick up a boy dressed like you with his hair like yours. And with a tattoo on his arm that says born dead. People wear tattoos now that says love and peace, Stephen, not born dead.
Love and peace, my Aunt Fanny's butt. Who says I want them to pick me up, for Christ's sake? You think I'm dying for the case of the clap or what? I got a couple of hundred truck drivers come through here in the middle of the night that said they'd all give me a ride anytime, anywhere they was going. You think I'm gonna lower myself to ride with those other morons? You're out of your mind.
200 truck drivers? I'm sorry. I have to call you on that one, Stephen. If it wasn't for Lyle's station and his motel, Lyle'd be our only customer.
You know, right? Because you're here all night while I'm home sacked out on my rear. So you know how many truck drivers still stop in here. Now, ain't that right?
In the 3 weeks since the bypass opened, Stephen, you know exactly how many customers you had in the nights. You want to know exactly how many, Stephen?
No, Christ, I don't want to know how many. I want to have 2 minutes apiece to read my damn newspaper. If that's not asking too much. Is that asking too much? If it is, just say the word and I'll get the hell out of here and go to the goddamn cemetery or somewhere.
Lyle Stryker enters. He's a man in his early 60s. He wears a brace on one leg and uses an aluminum crutch, the type with wrist and forearm supports.
Morning.
Good morning, Lyle.
Morning, Red. Nice to see Red so chipper this morning. What you got stuck in your craw this morning, Redbird?
Stephen sucks his teeth. Lyle takes what is evidently his stool. Angel sets a mug of coffee before him and begins to get his breakfast together. She glances meaningfully down at Stephen.
How's business, Lyle?
All 8 rooms full up last night. That's 17 out of 20 days since the bypass opened up. Most of them already checked out. Looks like my new sign gonna pay off right handsomely.
Damn thing's high enough. You ought to get yourself some collision insurance in case a couple of airplanes crash into it.
Well now, at least I don't have billboards strung up and down the highway like dirty underdraws proclaiming my whereabouts.
Don't tell me about it.
Steak and eggs are specialty. Steak and eggs are everybody's specialty.
Yeah, well, don't tell me about it. Tell Clark.
You tell Clark. I got enough trouble with my gas and oil people.
Yeah, you got it real tough, Lyle. You lead a real tough life, I'm telling you.
Well now, if you think it's so easy a life that I lead, Red, I hereby will it all to you for one day, and let's see how you like taking care of an 8-unit motel and a gas and service station entirely by yourself.
Keep sitting there babbling, Lyle, and you're gonna miss about $50 worth of business from that Cadillac sitting out there for the last half hour waiting for you to quit making speeches and get off your keister and give him some gas.
Didn't hear him pull up.
Came right out of room 4 and drove 20 feet to the premium pump. Been searching the countryside for somebody to fill that yacht up with about $50 worth of gas.
Back shortly. Keep my seat warm.
Yeah, gonna build a fire under it. Christ, will you look at that yacht? Looks like the goddamn Queen Mary. You want to bet he clears $50 filling that tank up?
They don't look like they ought to be staying at Lyle's, do they?
What's the matter? The old cripples ain't good enough for you now that you had your debutante coming out?
Very funny, Stephen.
Ain't fancy enough for their Cadillac to sit in front of number 4 of that, what are you saying?
Lyle's isn't exactly the Ramada Inn, you know.
Yeah? I'll take it. The Crip don't want it, let him give it to me. He ever mentions to you he's thinking about giving it away, you toss my name in the hat as a willing beneficiary. Christ, I could really do something with the layout he's got.
Why don't you ask Lyle to hire you on? I bet he would. What do you want to bet? If you asked him to hire you on to help out with the station and the motel, he'd hire you.
I told you, I'm hitching out of here. After this deal, I'm through working for the other guy. Next job I get, it's gonna be working for number 1 here.
Yeah? What you gonna do?
Don't you worry about me, okay?
Yeah, but what you gonna do, Stephen?
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna come driving up to your door one day in a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray convertible. The color of money is what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna rev up that 410 engine through my glass pack mufflers, and I'm gonna lay about 400 feet of rubber down your street. Anybody pull a stunt like that on your street one day, you be sure and tell them who it was. You tell them it was Red Ryder, everybody. Driving a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray convertible the color of money and living in his own apartment. You be sure and tell them.
I'll tell them, Stephen.
You tell him it was Red Ryder, and from now on, he's working for number one.
What kind of work's number one gonna be doing, though, Stephen?
And I'll tell you one thing. When I'm ready to go, I'm gonna write a letter to the goddamn company telling them what the hell kind of deal I think Clark's giving us out here.
Hey, do me a favor. Never mind the company. Just get Mr. Clark in here when I'm around and tell him off. I'd pay money to see that.
Shit, I ain't gonna waste my time talking to Clark. He's just running a lousy franchise. When I quit, I'm writing a registered letter to the company. I'm writing a registered letter to old man Foster himself.
I'd pay $20 to see you read off Mr. Clark.
You ain't got $20.
You wouldn't care to bet on that, would you?
How much money you got? You probably got 4,000 stored up. You never do a damn thing but come to work, watch television with that old cripple out there, and go home to get ready to do the same goddamn thing all over again.
How long you been working here, Stephen?
I don't keep track of time.
You know how long I've been working here? 14 months. You know how many times I asked Mr. Clark for a raise?
Your problem is you shouldn't ask him nothing.
He's the boss, Stephen.
What you should do is write a registered letter directed to the company.
What should I tell them?
Christ, tell him you're out here in goddamn New Mexico getting the royal shot from Clark, and that either they make him cough up that raise, or they can do you know what with their lousy job.
Think you're right, Stephen.
I know I'm right.
Well, you should have a raise too. If they think working the graveyard shift is easy, let them try it sometime. Who'd Mr. Clark get if you quit?
Who? No one, that's who. Old Clark had to work himself. That do my heart good. To see old Clark in here at 3 a.m. hashing potatoes. Yeah, maybe I'll threaten to quit unless he gives me a raise and see what he says to that.
I'll bet he'll give you one pretty darn quick. That's what I bet. You should do it, Stephen.
Just might do it today.
Tommy Clark enters in a big hurry, carrying 2 plastic bags full of red chili pods.
Good morning, Mr. Clark.
Here's the chili for the enchilada lunch special. Get right on them.
Do it, Stephen.
Clark dumps the chili, opens the cash register, glances at the drawer, whips it shut, and turns on Stephen.
That's a 5-cent cup you got your coffee in, Red.
I was just leaving.
Nickels don't grow on trees, boy. Leastwise, not one on one of the ones in the Clark yard.
Yeah, well.
Back in about an hour to check the books.
Stephen has returned to his stool and propped his feet up on the next stool.
Double cut that chili with water. Couldn't get the milder ones. Your mama let you stick your feet on her furniture at home, Red?
Stephen snaps his feet from the stool.
Let's get the Sunday special sign up. Chop, chop. They lunch before you know it. Back shortly.
Silence. Angel cannot look immediately at Stephen. Combating his humiliation, Stephen slaps his feet back up on the adjacent stool. Angel takes a toothpick from the dispenser and chews on it. After a moment, she glances at the clock.
Boy, Mr. Clark was sure in a good mood this morning, wasn't he? Isn't your guardian going to pick you up this morning?
My what?
I don't know. What do you call him? Your stepfather. That's right. You call him your stepfather.
I call him Ray. I don't call him my stepfather. I call him Ray. Who calls anybody your stepfather?
Well, isn't Ray going to pick you up?
Let me have one of them toothpicks.
Who's picking you up?
Nobody's picking me up. Somebody got to pick me up before you're happy.
He just always picks you up on a Sunday.
2 Sundays.
Seems like more than 2.
2.
He's not picking you up?
No, he ain't picking me up.
Your mom picking you up?
Nobody's picking me up. My mom don't got a car in the first place.
She's got Ray's car.
Ray's on vacation.
Oh, where'd they go?
Ray. Not they. Ray. Ray went on vacation last Wednesday.
By himself?
Yeah, by himself.
What do you call that?
I don't call it nothing. You gotta attach the label to it. Call it what they call it.
Well, what do they call it?
They call it a legal separation. I call it a royal screwing of my old lady. He left her with maybe $5 to her name and the lousy house that was hers to start with. That's some profit for 18 months hard labor.
Well, you could always look at it that people aren't supposed to get paid for hard labor.
You think that's funny? Yeah. I'll tell you a secret. That ain't funny.
Sometimes I think my mom and me ought to get a legal separation.
Yeah? Then you and the Crip should set up Home Sweet Home inside his color television.
Stephen.
Christ, look what's coming. Put on your ballerina formal. We're gonna have a concert.
Clarice and Richard Etheridge enter. Richard is as sure of himself as Clarice is reserved. Richard takes a deep whiff of the air in the diner as he steps decisively through the door. Clarice has preceded him uneasily. She carries a violin case. Angel and Stephen's attention is drawn from the Etheridges to the violin case.
Hi.
Stephen flips up his newspaper before he has to find out whether the man will say hello to him also.
Good morning.
Clarice moves toward the far booth.
Got to sit at the counter.
Richard, I'd rather.
Richard shakes his head, smiles, and points expansively to the counter. They sit in the middle of the line of stools. Clarice places the violin on the counter with mechanical care.
What did I tell you? Just smell that.
Have you eaten here before or something?
Oh, no. I grew up in New York. Spent a lot of my misspent youth hanging around diners.
What'll it be? Steak and eggs is our specialty.
Fun?
Just coffee and a Danish.
My wife would like a cup of black coffee, please, and a sweet roll, toasted and buttered.
Uh-oh. These are from yesterday still. They're pretty stale. Sweet roll man doesn't come on Sunday. How about steak and eggs? That's our specialty anyway.
Do you have half a grapefruit?
Sure.
I'll have that, and an egg, and a piece of toast.
All right, I think we're on our way. The grapefruit, 1 egg scrambled dry, piece of toast on the light side, and coffee black.
How about you? Like to try the steak and eggs?
No, I don't believe so. Let me have 2 eggs scrambled dry, a couple of pieces of toast, closer to toasted than my wife's, glass of orange juice, and coffee.
Coming up.
Is there some place I can pick up a Sunday paper?
Pass the paper, Stephen.
Oh, no, no, I don't want to take his paper.
Stephen,
Isn't there a machine? Or...
this is the customer paper. He works here.
Taking the paper from Stephen.
He can't read anyway. He just looks at the pictures.
All set for you. Came to 875.
Lyle feeds Richard a dollar bill and a quarter change.
Fine, thanks very much.
No trouble. Keys in the ignition. All right, kiddo, bring on my breakfast.
Stephen goes behind the counter for some more coffee. His attitude intends to suggest to the Etheridges that he can go behind the counter and they can't.
Christ, I gotta get out of here.
You ought to go home and get some sleep, Stephen.
I ain't talking about sleep. I'm talking about getting out of here.
Make up your mind where you want to go, Red?
How about anywhere that's more than 10 miles away from this hog trough?
How about as far away as next door?
Well, shut up.
Hey now, Redbird, that's no way to talk to a lady.
Lady? I don't see no lady.
Lighting on Clarice.
Oh, pardon me, ma'am. I didn't see you sitting there.
What is it that you're insinuating in my direction, Angel?
Stephen will kill me.
Stephen will not kill you. Speak up.
I was just telling Stephen that if he was so sick of working here, that why didn't he ask you if you could hire him on to help out with the station and the motel?
Uh-huh. That's very interesting indeed.
Could you do that, Lyle?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh. Could do that.
You could?
I don't suppose the Redbird has informed you of that not once, but 3 times. I have offered him in the last 2 months to come work for me in the very capacity in which you allude.
I'm getting out of here. How many times I gotta tell you guys that before it sinks into your thick skulls?
Where are you going, though, son?
If it's any of your lousy business, a girl that I went to high school with, this old lady, moved to Baton Rouge, said that when they were in for a visit at Christmas, that if I was ever leaving here and wanted to go to work for her, I should come on over to Baton Rouge and they'd put me to work in a decent job.
What girl's mom?
Kay Williams.
She owns a restaurant, Stephen.
No.
What'd be the difference? I mean,
The difference be that this is a lousy hog trough and that's a restaurant. That's what would be the difference. You wear a tuxedo there, for Christ's sake. The waitresses wear long skirts and ruffle blouses, not nurses' uniforms. And you carry food out on a tray. You don't sling hash across the grimy Formicus airstrip.
Well, why don't you go on and go? What's holding you back?
If it's any of your lousy business, Lyle, I got something I gotta take care of first.
Uh-huh. And what's that?
And I'll tell you, when I got that something taken care of, you ain't gonna have to build no fire under my butt to get me out of here.
What is it that you have to take care of?
No offense, Lyle, but that's none of your lousy business.
It's buying your mama that automobile. Prez Potter and me go way back, son. He mentioned you was in and to his lot the other afternoon.
Stephen storms out of the diner. Lyle smiles with a certain pride of accomplishment and glances fleetingly at Angel.
I hope you don't get indigestion from Stephen.
Oh, no. Don't worry about it.
If you want to file a complaint or anything, I have forms from Mr. Clark.
No, don't be silly.
Stephen don't mean nothing by all the noise he makes. He just needs to make a lot of noise.
I just wish he'd put up or shut up. That's all I ask of him. Person ought to put up or shut up.
I wish that if he was gonna go, then just get it over with and go.
Stephen returns with a fresh newspaper.
Hey, Lyle, couple weirdos just pushed a VW van into the station. Look like just your type.
If you was there, why didn't you help him? You know how to pump gas.
Like I said, they ain't my type.
Lyle starts to get up.
Oh, sit there and eat your slop. They're coming in here. Yes, sirree, Bob, they sure ain't my type. They might be yours, but they sure ain't mine.
Teddy and Cheryl enter. She is braless. This fact generates helpless interest in Stephen, an interest which he tries all too obviously to hide. Lyle, too, is drawn to her breasts, though less obviously and less frequently than Stephen. Teddy stops inside the door and looks across the diner.
Good morning.
Morning, neighbors.
Teddy starts upstage between the counter and the booth inside the door. When he is abreast of Clarice, he suddenly stops and turns to her.
Pardon me, ma'am, but aren't you... Excuse me. Well, now, who runs that little filling station next door?
Right here. Lyle Stryker, owner, proprietor, and janitor.
Well, sir, need a rebuilt generator for a VW van.
Nothing open today. Sunday.
Sunday, is it?
Everybody's sleeping it off or praying forgiveness for it.
Well, I'll tell you what I had in mind. Thought maybe in a town such as yours, with a man with a service station and a good-natured crippled man to boot, would be in a position to call up a parts store on a Sunday morning and get us a part anyhow.
Suppose I could.
We surely would appreciate it.
Let's have a look at your van first and make sure that...
Don't have to look at the van.
Wouldn't want you to spend,
Generator's gone, sir. If you'd be so kind enough to get us a rebuilt, I'll install it myself.
Well, that sounds like a tough offer to beat. I'll just go over to the station and see who I can rouse up.
Mighty accommodating of you.
Back in a jiffy, Angel. Don't auction off my eggs now.
Lyle winks at Angel, then turns and exits with a glance at Cheryl's bosom and a small follow-up smile at her face.
What do I hear from Mr. Lyle Stryker's eggs?
Teddy and Cheryl sit at the booth inside the door. Cheryl is noticeably nervous and has been ever since they entered.
How are y'all this morning?
Just fine. How are you folks?
Just fine. How are you?
Fine.
That's fine. Well, y'all seem to have the dust market pretty well cornered out here. Yeah, how are you, kid?
I'm okay, Dad.
Glad to hear it. Boy's got a sense of humor. Gonna think about putting him on the TV. And how about you nice-looking folks? How are you this morning?
Excellent, thanks.
Excellent! Everybody here is fine or okay or excellent. What do you think about that?
Stop it.
Oh, the call has gone out for me to stop it. All y'all in favor kindly signify by raising your hands.
Do you have some coffee?
Looks like it's going to be a close vote.
To go or to drink here?
Oh, Jesus, to drink here. Where are we gonna go?
Two?
You cut it out. Do you want coffee?
Yeah.
2.
Where are you folks from?
Istanbul! Used to be Constantinople.
We've got California plates.
Just who are you, mister?
Where you headed?
Mexico.
Oh, that's nice down there.
Get around a lot, do you?
She. She never been out of the state of New Mexico. She don't know.
I know more than you think, Stephen. I seen books and I meet a lot of nice people been there.
Sure you do.
You folks want to order something to eat?
Yeah, don't mind if we do.
Steak and eggs is our specialty.
Steak and eggs it is then. And, home fries sliced up with your own little fingers?
Stephen's fingers.
Well, hell, I'll take a chance.
Ma'am?
Yeah, fine.
Now, easy over all them eggs, darling, and medium on that beef.
How about you, ma'am?
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
You surprise her, darling.
Angel retreats to her grill.
Where are you, nice-looking folks from San Diego in that Cadillac car heading?
Do you know us? You know, I got the feeling when you came in.
Saw the San Diego State faculty sticker on the bumper.
Oh, that's my wife's.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I thought for a second there she was my cousin Faye. Heading back to San Diego, are you?
New Orleans.
New Orleans? Packing a submachine gun.
Only a violin, I'm afraid.
Well, prefer a submachine gun, would you?
I didn't mean I was literally afraid.
Yes, ma'am, I don't mind saying that you tend to remind me a whole hell of a lot of my cousin Fern. That must be a mighty fine fiddle to get took to breakfast with you.
It's a Guarnerius. Sometimes I think my wife has an added appendage.
Lady playing the hoedown circuit, is she?
No, I'm...
Richard stops her from answering by touching her shoulder.
She's going to be with the New Orleans Philharmonic this summer.
Uncle Clyde, Bob, and Aunt Sissy must be mighty proud of you, Cousin Frida. And you just going along to answer all the tough questions for her. Just living off the little woman's residuals, as it were?
Not quite.
Not quite. Doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief? Don't mean to be nosy.
No?
I'm just curious. Just making a little roadside diner conversation. Pass the time. Hope you don't mind.
As of yet, I don't.
But as of some future date, you might. I'm just gonna jot that down here.
That accent you're affecting seems a form of condescension aimed at all of us.
Oh, surely not. No law here against having fun, is there? Leastways, not yet.
No, not yet.
May I ask, what do you do?
I'm in the import business.
Import. Well, and just what do you import?
Textiles.
Textiles. Oh, I had you figured out for an osteopath. No, I never have been able to figure out what folks got against osteopaths. Doctor here imports textiles. Whew, got me cold on a fast third strike on that one, all right. Thought it was a fastball coming at my head, and then suddenly she just dives down across the plate, and I'm left a-looking. Live and learn. Oh, and now how about my little buddy in the corner there? Oh, my, but I like your hairstyle. I'll bet that look will be coming back before you know it. Girls will be climbing all over you. Rolled up sleeves, the works. What do you do, buddy?
He works the graveyard shift here.
The graveyard shift. Ooh, that must be a mighty important position, eh, buddy?
Stinks.
I didn't quite catch that.
He said it stinks. Working the graveyard shift?
You his agent, honey? What's the boy's long suit?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, what's the boy do that's so impressive that an agent of your reputation took him on as a client?
I don't know. What's your long suit, Stephen?
Lad doesn't talk much, does he?
You should hear him when no one's around.
When no one else is around, or just when someone like me is not around? like to listen in one of these days on a conversation between my little buddy here and my cousin with the fiddle.
Well, I wasn't aware I was under any obligation to carry on a conversation.
Well, I don't mind confessing that our parts store fella wasn't tickled pink, but he'll have it up here inside of 15 minutes.
Obliged. Yes, sir, deeply obliged.
Service is the name of the game.
I can believe it.
Product lists at $37.50, but he was in such an almighty hurry to get himself out on the lake before all the fish is gone, I jewed him down to about $35.
Doggone if that ain't a bargain.
Well, I always say $2.50 is $2.50.
I'll tell you the truth, neighbor. I hope you don't say it too often. You're like to bore folks right out of their minds.
Wouldn't be a bit surprised.
No, sir. I wouldn't either. I surely wouldn't.
Lyle returns uncertainly to his stool. Angel has served the Etheridges during the exchange between Teddy and Lyle. She goes after Lyle's breakfast.
It looks very good.
What? Oh, thank you.
Puts me right back in high school.
How much is short in your car, Redbird? Prez tells me you got 45, but you need another 30.
Prez has sure got himself a big yap for a little award of a guy, don't he?
You want to get out of here so bad, Red? You want to go to Baton Rouge and wear a tuxedo? I'll lend you the $30, and you get your mom in that automobile and get yourself out of here.
Yeah, sure. What kind of interest?
No interest, son, just a man-to-man loan. You just send me back money when you can.
I like paying my own way. I don't like borrowing from nobody.
Just pay me back when you can. You forget for a year or so, what the heck? Next time you remember, you got the money, send it back to me.
I'll hang around a little while longer, if you don't mind, and loan it to myself.
Up to you.
It's just the way I see it, too.
Well, I'll head on back to the station and wait for that generator.
Much obliged. Say, how come it, neighbor, that your infirmity there? Infantile paralysis as a child?
Stroke.
Ah.
Had a mild stroke back in 45.
45. Quite a year.
Just after breakfast it was.
Hell of a way to start the day.
I better get moving here.
Nice old cripple, ain't he? So, you want to get out of here, do you, little buddy? Why don't you come on down to Mexico with us? Huh?
No, thanks.
Hey, you got the shoes for it. That old man seems pretty anxious for you to leave town. You notice that, boy? I'd noticed that. I did. What do you make of it?
Stephen heads for the coffee.
Hey! You got a pass to go behind that counter.
Stephen refills his paper cup. Teddy moves to Stephen's stool and sits on it.
Yeah, that old man called you Red, didn't he? Now that's curious. Why would somebody call someone else Red if that somebody else had brown hair? Oh, that's short for redneck or what?
He had red hair when he was a child back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Ah, the one in Pennsylvania. I see. But you call him Stephen.
I don't like to call him Red. I think it's silly to call someone with brown hair red.
Shut up, will ya?
Hey now, boy, don't talk that way. I purely agree with our corpulent friend here, the agent. That is pretty silly, ain't it?
Not if he likes it, though. I guess I just call him Stephen.
Uh-huh.
His last name's Ryder.
I told you to shut up.
And I told you. Red Ryder, god damn it!
It's all right. We know each other.
You remember Red Ryder, Doc?
Yes, very well.
Oh, boy, do I do too. Now, that was one straight shooter. Didn't dress like a fag and sing like Hoppy and Roy. No, and that little beaver, I tell you, that was one redskin that could handle a bow and arrow. Ow. What the hell happened to those people, Doc?
Gone.
Gone, sir? Or displaced? I'll tell you one thing for sure, Red. Those boys had guts. You got guts, Red? How would you rate your own self on a gut scale? There ain't room enough in this town for you and me, Red Ryder. So I'm leaving. Just as soon as I get my house a new generator. You're a real chicken shit, aren't you, boy?
Takes one to know one.
He spots Stephen's tattoo.
Oh, what the hell is that?
What?
You got a tattoo on your arm that says "Born Dead."
No.
Yeah, look, right there. Boy, you're a walking metaphor, ain't you? You know what a metaphor is? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. What's a metaphor, boy?
Well, if you don't know, I sure as hell not going to tell you.
You mind? We're trying to finish our breakfast.
Oh, just talking to my friend here. We'll try to keep our voices down. Sorry. Where'd you get that tattoo?
You scare me.
You bet your ass I scare you, boy. Now, where did you get the goddamn tattoo?
A couple of years ago.
Where?
Carnival.
Why?
Felt like it.
No, why? What'd it mean? Why'd you pick that one?
Didn't like the others.
Who you with?
Teddy sits in a chair adjacent to Stevens.
No one.
Who you with?
No one.
Teddy
God damn it, who are you with?
Davidson.
Big guy.
What do you mean, big guy?
I mean, Davidson was a big guy, basketball, football player.
He wasn't so big.
Had a girl with him, good looking.
She was all right.
Yeah, I bet she was all right. You and Davidson and her and Davidson and ... you. Yeah, and what did Davidson get tattooed on his arm?
Nothing.
Bullshit, the girl's name.
So, big deal.
Yeah, and then she said, what are you going to get, Red Ryder? RR loves LB?
Who's LB?
LB.
Little Beaver, darling. And you said no, because you were plenty pissed. You said, no, I'm going to get that one. Born Dead. Well, you know what you should have said? You should have said, I'm putting your name on my arm, too. You should have said, God damn it, I'm just as good as Davidson any day. You just give me the chance to show you. And maybe if you'd said that to enough pretty girls and gotten enough of their names tattooed on your body, you'd have begun to believe you were as good as Davidson. Even though you weren't. Never could be. Shit. You disappoint me, Red Ryder.
Richard, I'm finished.
Yes. What do I owe you?
Oh, hey, don't let me rush y'all out.
Well, we're finished.
Oh, come on now. Have another cup of coffee on me.
Some bicarbonate, perhaps.
Oh, darling, you set Madam Professor and the doctor up with some more of your wonderful coffee. Poor darling.
She picks up the coffee. Richard and Teddy lock eyes. Teddy lifts his eyebrows, in effect asking Richard how he wants to play this one. Richard puts his hands over their cups, smiles at Teddy. Clarice starts for the door.
Say, ma'am, let me take a look at that Guarnerius violin before you go.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I ain't gonna hurt it. I just always wanted to have an in-person gander at one of them.
Then you'll behave yourself?
Word of honor.
Richard stares at Teddy a moment, then averts his eyes and nods assent. Clarice is not happy with Richard's decision. She challenges him with her eyes. Somewhat irascibly, Richard nods at her. She lays the violin case down and opens it, but does not remove the violin. Teddy stares, not at the violin, but at her.
That must have cost a pretty penny.
Not through paying for it yet.
How much a mechanism like that cost, if you don't mind me asking?
$11,000.
You're kidding.
Why should he be kidding?
Playing the fiddle must be mighty important to you, cousin.
Yes, it is.
Why don't you play us something on that there $11,000 fiddle?
Richard snaps up the violin and case, returns them to Clarice.
Why not?
Can we please get out of here?
Yes. We're in a bit of a hurry. Maybe you'll catch her in a concert one of these days.
Then again, maybe I'll catch her in something else this day.
I'm afraid I don't follow you.
I'd be afraid too, sir. Indeed I would. Now, why don't you make me a present of that there violin, cousin, and we'll call everything even. All right, you're right. That ain't fair. Make it the violin and a small monthly allowance, but that is all I could accept.
Miss, please.
I want that violin, cousin, and I swear to God you'd be wiser than you can imagine to give it to me.
You have a great deal of imagination, my friend.
An incredible faculty it is, sir.
Teddy.
Cheryl's eyes are to the window. Teddy looks there.
Generator! Land's sakes, man's in a hurry. Looks like the Pony Express man, Red, passing the mail and hightailing it off. Well, it appears you ain't gonna make me a present of that there Guarnerius violin, so, well, if you gotta go, as they say, you gotta go. You ever heard that one, Red?
Richard turns to Angel. Clarice closes the violin case and moves to the door. Teddy stares at Clarice, who becomes uncomfortably conscious of his stare. Compulsively, she snaps her eyes to his, but of course he does not look away, so she must. Meanwhile,
That'll be $2.60 with tax.
Thank you. It was very good.
Thank you.
Richard nods bluntly toward her, passes his eyes across Teddy's, and exits behind Clarice, who exits purposefully and head down, acknowledging no one.
Come see us again.
How's our steaks coming, darling?
Almost done.
Good. He give you a nice tip?
40 cents.
Hot doggy! Hey, what brought you out here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Red Ryder?
His mother had emphysema.
Teddy is noticeably distracted during the above and following, watching the Etheridges walk to their car. Cheryl is uneasily watching him watch them.
And the desert air cured her, did it?
Angel glances at Stephen, who stares straight ahead and smokes.
She still got it. You should hear her cough sometime.
I'm sure that'd be a real treat. Say, darling, what's the trade like in here on a Sunday morning? Those steaks and eggs come flying off the griddle?
Sundays are worst.
Come on.
Sometimes I read the whole Sunday paper Sunday morning.
Don't say.
Things pick up at lunchtime for the enchilada special.
Well, that's nice, ain't it? Not much fun for you and the Ryder when there's no business.
Oh, we talk till Stephen goes home.
Just talk?
He turns suddenly from the window and moves from it.
Huh? You just talk. No, tell the truth.
Sometimes we don't even talk.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes Stephen just goes home.
Does he?
Uh-huh.
Angel brings their food to the table, glancing intuitively toward the window.
My, that looks good. Dig in, honey. Oh, just look at all that grease. This where you get the beer grease for your hair, Red?
Is it too greasy?
Come here, darling. Now tell the honest-to-God truth. When the two of you are all here alone, does he ever give you a little feel?
Teddy reaches up and honks one of Angel's breasts.
Me.
Angel hustles back behind the counter. Teddy looks to Stephen, who averts his eyes and storms back to his stool. Lyle and Richard enter.
Got your generator, but now these folks have lost the keys. Swear I left the keys in the ignition.
What do they look like?
Just a little flat piece for the ring and the chain.
Little piece of textile?
Gold.
My.
No, I think I might have left them on top of the premium pump.
I'll just go and check on that.
Son, I thought I'd do you a bit of a favor. So I went ahead and dismounted your air cooling shroud so I could take off your old generator.
Uh-huh.
Now, son, I like to think I'm a man that understands our young folks, and I'm a man that minds his own business.
That's a fine approach to life, sir. A fine approach.
But you could surely find yourself in a passel of trouble if one of those Mexican border guards was to, get the idea to search around and find what you got taped into that shroud. And I'd surely hate to see you compound your problems by taking that man's keys. I ain't making no accusations, you understand? I'm a man that minds my own business.
Seems to me you said that. Didn't he say that a while back?
Yeah, yes.
God damn if I didn't think so much, old man. You just repeating yourself. Afraid for a second I thought I was going crazy.
Just give me the keys if you got 'em, son. I'll say I had 'em in my pocket the whole time and didn't know it. Then I'll go on out of here. Then I'll go on out there and put that new generator on, and you can be on your way.
Damn old crippled guy if you haven't gone and complicated things. Now, didn't I tell you first thing that I'd put that generator in?
I just thought I'd do you a bit of a favor.
God damn if you didn't say that before, too.
You got nothing to worry about. Like I said...
Say it again, old man, and I'll cut your tongue right out of your throat. Ah, now here comes Gentleman Jim and Our Lady of the Violin. How you gonna feel if they found those keys?
I'll apologize. I surely will.
All right, then. Let's just see what develops here. Found him, did you?
No, we didn't.
Boys got him.
Teddy rushes Stephen, grabs him off his stool, turns him upside down, and begins to shake him. Stephen struggles, but Teddy is much the stronger.
All right, Red Ryder, cough up them keys! What the Lone Ranger and Tonto gonna say when you... You got him, you goddamn stupid son of a bitch!
Teddy dumps Stephen, stares at him, evidently deeply hurt.
That's a vicious thing to say, boy. Yeah, you're gonna make it rough for white and Indian couples all over the country with that kind of behavior.
You have my keys?
Well, now, this is just speculating, you understand, but let's speculate here for a second.
Do you have my keys?
Just a minute, I'm speculating, goddammit! Ugh. Let's say, just for the sake of speculating, that I have your keys. Now, I wonder, if I did have them, if you'd be willing to cough up a little ransom money to get them back. Just in the nature of speculating, of course.
Give him the keys, son.
What do you say, Gentleman Jim?
If you do have my keys, I can assure you I'm not about to pay 1 red cent to get them back.
Then, just speculating again, were I to be the possessor of your keys, I just don't think I'd give them back. No, sir, I just don't think I would. Couldn't. Impractical.
You have a policeman in this town?
Sheriff.
Would you mind calling him? Well, let him see if he can find my keys.
Now, just speculating again, if you will beg my rapidly diminishing pardon here, I wouldn't do that. No, sir. No, I certainly wouldn't.
You won't? Kindly tell me the number, and I will.
Richard takes a step toward the phone. Teddy rises. Richard stops. They face each other.
Son, my offer still stands.
I appreciate your offer, old man, but this here speculating I'm doing is an offer of a different stripe.
Then I'm gonna have to call Sheriff Garcia.
I pray to the very funny Lord that you don't attempt that, sir.
Then give the man back his keys.
Darn it all, I can't do that.
Lyle starts for the phone on the wall.
Do not touch that phone! Now, when I say don't do something the way I just said, don't do it. All right, let's cut the crap here, friend. We're 45 minutes from the Mexican border and presumably out of your lives, but we have got to get the money to pay for that breakfast. We ain't even got money for breakfast, let alone a generator. We need money.
Have the breakfast on me, son. Put their breakfast on my tab, Angel. Have the generator on me, too. Let's just don't do anything you'll be sorry for. My offer still stands. You go calmly out of here and...
We accept breakfast and the generator with thanks, old man. But we've still got to have money in the hand. And I am damn sure that there is not enough in that register here to make it clear and out worth my while. So if Gentleman Jim doesn't come up with, say, $300 in cash, I'm going to be very upset. Now, what do you say, Jim?
Teddy has slipped the keys from his jacket and approaches Richard, holding the keys out in his palm. Suddenly, Richard leaps for the keys, but Teddy, anticipating, secures them in a closed fist.
Woo-hoo! See that move, Red Ryder? Fastest fist in the West. Can I sign on as Little Beaver with moves like that?
Richard breaks for the door. Teddy leaps between Richard and the door. Like a basketball player, Richard tries to fake one way and go the other around Teddy, but Teddy stays between him and the door. Richard loses his balance as Teddy moves at him and falls against the table with Teddy and Cheryl's dishes on it.
Please, don't do anything.
They're nice people!
Now you just shift your tank in reverse and go back behind that counter.
During Teddy's exchange with Angel, Richard has stepped close enough to Teddy to hit him. Rather than cold-cocking him, however, Richard slaps him across the face. Teddy drops the keys and Richard grabs them.
Christ, Jim! What if I'd been wearing contact lenses?
We're walking out of here. We're going over to Mr. Stryker's station, and we're getting in our car. You have, as long as it takes us to locate the sheriff and get him out here, to get your car fixed and be gone.
Hold it!
Teddy!
You dare point that thing at me?
Empty your pockets on the table.
I will not.
Friend, I don't need to shoot you, but if that's what it's going to take to make clear who's controlling this, then that's the way it's going to have to be.
That's the way it's going to have to be then.
End of Act 1. Act 2. Some minutes later, Richard is the center of attention, seated at one of the tables, a first aid kit set out before him. Lyle putting the finishing touches on a wrapping of gauze and 2-inch tape. Clarice sits beside Richard. Teddy is eating the last of Cheryl's breakfast, having finished his own. His revolver sits on the table close to him.
How you feeling, gentlemen? Jim? Well, no more than a flesh wound, Red. He'll be ready to ride by sunup. Darling, them's mighty fine victuals.
Think the bleeding stopped.
Didn't I just get through telling Red Ryder it wasn't nothing more than a flesh wound?
How do you feel?
All right.
Rest, I'm being ostracized.
Lyle moves away from Richard and examines Cheryl's breasts as he rolls his sleeves back down and fastens them.
Can I do something?
Oh, really? I'm fine. Just shaken.
Please, let me do something.
There's nothing for you to do.
Red, you know who I wished could have been here to see the looks on everybody's faces when I put the hot lead to Jim? Cisco and Poncho. Now, there was a couple of boys could really appreciate a good facial expression. God damn, where did all those people get to so fast? Where the hell's Tim Holt, Jim? Johnny Mack and the Durango Kid? Oh, Lash LaRue. Jesus Christ, somebody sure pulled a fast one.
Would you stop staring at my breasts, please?
Who's staring at your breast, darling?
Not me.
Now you, old man?
Not me.
Stuff like that don't interest you no more, do it?
Well, now, I wouldn't say that.
No, I wouldn't either.
Who says I'm looking at him?
I say, boy. Yeah, but then she's got him right out there for you to look at, don't she? She don't want you fellas to look at her bosom. She ought to cover the thing up, ain't that right?
Could we just get out of here, please?
Teddy's continues to stare at Stephen, his breath coming a little bit fast.
Teddy.
Yeah. Why don't you and Mr. Stryker go on over to the garage and put our new generator in? Put the gun in your shawl, sweetheart. Mr. Stryker, you go in now. But I surely hope, sir, that you won't attempt anything Baroque. I'd hate for my little girl to decide if she'd use this thing.
You have my word. I just want to see you out of here. And us no worse off than we are now.
That's a good old man. God damn, but you are good, ain't you? Yeah. You're a good old man, ain't you? You keep your eyes off my little gal's breast, you understand me? Bring back a couple of rolls of friction tape.
Teddy, I'm scared.
Run along, darling.
He crosses to her, kisses her lightly on the mouth. She touches his chest. He removes her hand and moves away from her. Pause.
Go ahead, Mr. Stryker. I'll follow you.
Lyle looks around as if checking to see somehow that everyone is all right, then exits, followed by Cheryl.
Shame on you, boy. What's going on in your mind, boy? Way back there in the corners where you never been before. Don't let it touch you, boy, you hear me? You do, and it's just liable to eat you whole.
Silence. Stephen is unsure how to respond to what seems an almost intimate tone. He meets Teddy's eyes a moment, then drops his eyes into Teddy's fatigue jacket. Teddy continues to stare at him, to stay tight to him. Stephen glances back up at Teddy's eyes.
Go ahead, boy. Ask me something.
Were you in the war?
Yeah. You? Unfit or pull a lucky number?
324.
No, that's too bad, ain't it? You might have got yourself shot to shit and mailed home in a plastic garbage bag and buried down the road here. Everybody would have come to the funeral. You'd have been somebody then, Red.
Boy, I went to high school. With got killed in the war.
Uh-huh.
Billy Simon.
Billy Simon.
Yeah. You'd have been somebody then, Red. Yeah, I know a lot of good old boys became somebody by getting their good old asses shot off. I can't remember their names either. I wanted to go away once too, boy. Figured one place was as bad as another. Went to college. You know what I remember? how to do the tired swimmer's carry, which ain't much use, say, here in the desert, and the succession of Tudor Stuart kings and queens, which ain't of no use even if you happen to be close to water. Yeah, you might as well stay here, boy. Maybe they'll make you head of the parking lot.
How old was she?
Cheryl? 18, 19, 20? Don't really know, darling. Why, is she too old for me or what?
Where'd you met each other?
Sock hop. Yes, ma'am. We bopped our little behinds off that first glorious night. The Kalen twins, Chuck Berry. How come they call you Angel, Dumpling?
My mama and daddy just named me it.
Angel, huh? You must have meant a lot to them. Well, then, anyway. When did the bulk start to come up on you?
You mean, when did I start to get fat?
Yeah, that's right, darling.
When I was little.
Glands, was it?
Uh-huh.
Well, how come you wear that wedding ring on your right hand? You married to Mrs. Christ's boy?
My daddy gave it to me.
How is your daddy these days?
I don't know. He went away a long time ago.
Because of you?
Because of my mama and my grandma, I think.
You think anybody's ever going to marry you, Angel?
I don't know.
No. Nobody ever is.
The hell's the matter with you, man?
Generally, Jim, or in particular?
What's the matter with all of you?
All of us. You mean us here, disaffected youth of the United States of America?
Yes.
We disaffected, Jim.
Well, what happened to all of that love and peace garbage?
That was another group, sir. That was those other fellas. No, us. We're not in favor of love and peace. Well, how about you, Jim? You filled with love and peace, are you?
Not right now.
How about you, darling? Are you filled with love and peace?
I think so. I think so.
I like the way you said that twice that way, darling. What do you love, Lamb Chop?
My mama.
Uh-huh.
And my grandma.
Well, how about old Red Ryder here? Well, you love old Red, don't you, sweet gut?
I like Stephen a lot.
Oh, I think you love old Red. That's what I think. But he don't love you back, do he? He don't ever stare at your bosom, do he? Well, let me intercede in your behalf, darling, and ask the boy a couple of questions. Now, Red, how come you don't love old sweet gut here? Not good enough for you? Sharp dresser like you? Man with all the answers? How come?
None of your goddamn business.
Teddy leaps at Stephen and backhands him across the head, knocking him off his stool.
Don't you ever look at my woman's breasts again, boy, or I will hurt you real bad. All right, now you get in the middle of the room.
Stephen gets up and moves to the middle of the room, trying somehow to affect a toughness even as he complies without question.
My God, the unspeakable audacity of a punk like you wearing a tattoo like that. The real Red Ryder would have hung him up if anyone were to tell him we were associated with pig shit like that. And I'll tell you something else. You never would have found the real Ryder sitting around a dump like this staring at some tourist lady's tits. I swear to goddamn Christ, I am tempted to take those eyes out of your head and cut that tattoo right out of your arm. Now I want to see you ride the range. You just start riding the range around this room until I tell you to stop.
What do you mean, ride the range?
I mean like when you were a kid, you little pissant. Ride the goddamn range like you did when you were a kid playing cowboys and niggers or wetbacks or whatever the fuck you shitheads played around here. Now ride!
Extremely self-consciously, Stephen begins to ride the range.
Slap leather! You're Red Ryder and you're chasing a black hat across the desert out there. Now go get him!
Stephen slaps leather and rides the range a little harder.
Sound effects! Come on, sound effects!
Stephen adds weak sound effects, clicks and calls to his horse.
What was goddamn Red Ryder's horse's name, Jim?
Don't remember.
Thunder or Midnight, I think. Come on, your horse is Thunder or Midnight. Pick one. That giddy-up shit's no good anymore.
Stephen clicks and calls to his horse, calling him Midnight.
One midnight.
Now, stop! Okay, stop. Now ride up to the counter and dismount and tie your horse up.
Stephen does.
Bad. Very bad. Okay, now you go into this cafe here. See? And Sweet Cheeks is your only beloved, because you're Red Ryder, and you only got one truly beloved. I mean, as far as I can see, you don't just mess around on the side, but unlike the homosexual Fruit Lone Ranger, you do not got yourself one fine gal here. Oh, a great time it was, Jim, when we didn't know enough to wander around at these virile lads running around in weird couples. Oh, it's no wonder our generation despises women. All right, now, Sweet Nubs, now you come down here, and when Red comes off the range, you say, "Red, honey, welcome home." Got that?
Slowly, Angel moves down the counter to her position, nods assent.
Okay, Red, now you get back there and you come galloping up this time, all right? Now you tie up Old Thunder or Midnight and swagger into the cafe.
Stephen rides up again, dismounts, and ties up his horse. He starts toward the counter.
Swagger!
Stephen does something of a swagger.
Red, honey.
Not yet, for Christ's sake. Let him get in the door. Smack some dust from his britches.
Stephen slaps some dust from himself, his eyes on the floor. Angel looks to Teddy for a signal. He gives it.
Red, honey, welcome home.
Stephen stands, his eyes on the floor.
Kiss her, Red, for Christ's sake. Where's your manners, you schmuck? Pucker up, darling.
Stephen leans across the counter. Angel presents her face forward, but he kisses her on the cheek.
Shit. Cut! Oh. Okay, Red, get over there. Sweet Cheeks, back off. Now, Our Lady of the Violin, come here. I got something for you to do. Now, don't look at him like he's going to give you permission. This ain't the school dance, honey. If I call cutsies, we got cutsies, all right? Now, get behind the counter, and when I say ride up, you say, Red, honey, welcome home. Move!
Clarice doesn't move. Teddy walks toward them, then suddenly snatches up the violin.
Don't. Be careful, please.
Teddy opens the case and then suddenly, carelessly whips out the violin.
All right.
Clarice moves behind the counter.
Don't kiss her!
At 2 minutes to midnight, 2 minutes to curtain, the female star is suddenly taken by a mysterious illness, and you, the prop girl, are thrust into the part. Now don't blow it. Now, Red, Nubs, you watch this, because this is the way I want it.
Carrying the violin under his arm, Teddy slaps leather around the diner, whipping his horse on, calling to it. He gallops up to the counter, leaps off his horse, throws the reins over the rail, grandly ties them, swaggers into the cafe, and slaps some dust from his breeches.
Red, honey, welcome home.
Teddy leans across the counter, but Clarice has her head turned towards Richard. Teddy grabs her through her pullover by her brassiere, twists the brassiere, and yanks her toward him. Richard comes for Teddy. Teddy raises the violin over his head as if he would smash it on the counter. Richard stops, slowly sits. Teddy stares at him a moment. Then, still holding the violin over his head, he leans in to kiss Clarice. She turns her face away. He lowers the violin to her turned cheek and turns her mouth to his. He kisses her, after several moments, releasing her brassiere. For several moments longer, her mouth remains with his. Then she breaks. They stare at each other. Teddy turns away, seemingly affected. Pause.
Thanks, Jim. Take her away.
Give me my violin.
Only if you promise to play us some background music.
All right. Give it to me.
Teddy picks up a fork from the counter and tosses it on a tray.
On these. First, a little range riding music. Then something soft and romantic. Play nice, and when today's shooting schedule's finished, no pun intended, Jim. You'll get your instrument back, all right? Red, show me something, boy.
I don't want to kiss her.
What's the matter, boy? You queer?
I just don't want to kiss her.
'Cause she's fat?
I just don't wanna.
Don't you know what it would mean to her if you...
I don't wanna.
Shut up! Don't you understand, boy, that you've got to learn to see yourself in relation to other people's needs? Do you think I enjoy this work?
I just don't want to kiss her.
Jesus Christ, I say something of consequence to you and you give me back I don't wanna for the 4th time. I think you're queer, boy. That's what I think.
I don't care what you think.
Teddy has his arm draped across Stephen's shoulders. He suddenly tightens his arm around Stephen's neck.
Please care what I think, okay? Now either you do this the way that I wrote it or I'm gonna make you kiss me. You wanna kiss me? Huh? Okay, then boy, play the scene the way I wrote it. There can only be one writer on these films, otherwise the thematic core of the thing gets screwed up. Surely a man who's made as many moving pictures as you have knows that. All right, the orchestra's tuning up. Okay, hit it.
Teddy sets the action and music going. Stephen plays the scene as Teddy called it, though with a marked lessening of intensity from Teddy's playing of it. Clarice accompanies him on fork and tray. Stephen swaggers up to the counter. Teddy signals Clarice to cut the music.
Good.
Red,
Good.
honey, welcome home.
Good. Now, music.
Clarice slows her rhythm as Stephen leans across the counter to kiss Angel, who at the moment of contact turns away. Clarice, disgusted as much with her own participation as anything, moves down the counter.
Boy, I don't care how big you are over at Metro. This is the last picture I'm ever going to use you in. Sweet cheeks, what can I say?
Nothing.
You want this boy to make love to you?
No.
Sure you do. You ever been to bed with a woman, Red? I'm talking to you, boy.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Well, this woman wants you to make love to her, and by jingo, she's going to have her way. Right here.
No.
Our Lady, you will accompany the action, of course. Now, here's the way we're going to play it, all right? Now, Red, you're going to say to Nubs here that you're going away, and she'll ask you, why are you going away, Red Ryder? And you'll say, I don't know, because you're Red Ryder, and you don't know a goddamn thing unless someone tells you, and that's a great way to be, wouldn't you say, Jim? Now, remember how it used to be? Oh, okay, yeah. Now, none of this horse shit that you're into now, boy, about responsibility and existential choice. No, all the old Red Ryder knew was he got sealed orders to go away, and he was gone, and so you'll say, I don't know why I'm going away. And she'll say, is it because of me? And you'll say, I don't know if it's because of you, because no one told you whether that's it or not. And she'll say, I have to know. And all she'll be able to say is, I don't know. Say it. Say it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And then, sweet cheeks, you'll say, when you coming back, Red Ryder? And what do you say, Red?
I don't know.
No, that's wrong. Because at this juncture, some unknown but officious individual steps up to your ear and she whispers, never. You ain't ever coming back, Red Ryder. And you say to your little dumpling here, I ain't ever coming back. And Nubs here's eyes fill up and she says, make love to me then, Ryder, before you go. And you say, bless you, Red. You say, we ain't married, Missy Nubs. It wouldn't be right. I couldn't. I'm missing. God damn it! You a Dodger fan, Jim?
No.
Baseball. Game. The grown men used to play when Jim and me was boys and you weren't the only Red Ryder around. Who'd you root for, Jim?
Yankees.
You shit brick. Yeah, we ain't gonna forget Roger Maris's flat top overnight, are we? No, you stick with them when they moved west, Jimmy, did you? Yeah, I'll tell you what happened to me. When they moved the Duker out of Brooklyn into that friggin' L.A. Coliseum, they ruined the career of the only man I ever loved. Now I'm talking to you, Jimbo. You speak to that.
I lost interest when they traded Maris and Mantle retired.
Oh, the Mickler! Jesus, yeah. Yeah, maybe that was the end of it, huh? Oh, and that goddamn Yogi Berra. Jesus, I hated that little bastard. What did they call him?
Clutch.
Mr. Clutch my ass.
Dodgers were losers. You belong together.
Don't you ever imply in my presence that the Duke was a loser. The Duke. The Duker Edward Donald Snyder, friends, the Duke of Flatbush, poking 'em on to Bedford Avenue. Oh, there was another time, boy. I knew it. Yeah. But that was yesterday, and this is today, and there ain't nothing today to say that a couple of nice kids can't throw each other a nice fuck on a countertop in a diner in New Mexico if they want to. So, Mr. Red Ryder and Miss Angel Sweetnubs, front and center, please, and disrobe.
Edwin. It's Edwin, not Edward. Edwin Donald Snyder! Now stop degrading them. We're living in the present. If you just...
Do you think this woman is impressed by all of your gratuitous bravado? Are you? Are you impressed? Don't you understand that there have been landmark discoveries in the fields of apology and psychology suggesting that there is more to manliness and husbandry than pretending willingness to do battle with men you cannot compete with? Hey, Red. What about Our Lady of the Violin? Like to make love to her?
Don't touch me.
Yeah, what do you say to that, Red? Your first sexual experience of a complete nature with a concert violinist who is not at all unattractive for a woman creeping death quick into middle age. Maybe she'll even put the fiddle down when you all consummate. Red boy, goddammit, I'm talking to you.
I don't want to.
I swear to God, boy, I think you were as queer as a $3 bill.
You're a queer.
Rise to the occasion, boy! Rise to it! Rise! All right, look at it this way. Now, on the one hand, you got sweet cheeks here, untouched by human hands. Correct me if I'm wrong, cheeks. Cheeks? Yeah, untouched. And then on the other hand, you got Our Lady of the Violin, who's been around.
You are an obscenity.
And you, madam, hiding behind your instrument and your paucity of word and deed, are a deceitful woman. Hey, Jim, this woman ever treat you as good as she does this violin you're paying for?
You stinking filth. You rotten, stinking filth.
Clarice, stay out of this.
You come in here and you treat us as though we were somehow truly without worth, as if we were no more than dirt. But no, it's not us. It's you.
All right, Clarice.
I know you, and I'm not impressed. I know you, and I want you out of here.
Shit, it's all right.
It's not all right. Don't tell me it's all right.
Don't demean yourself.
Don't talk to me about demeaning myself. This mass of filth walks into our lives and you let him humiliate you beyond all pretense.
Hasn't humiliated me, Clarice.
God damn about Edward Schneider when the little dignity that remains to you is being reduced to...
He hasn't done anything to me but hold him in my arm.
You'd let him have intercourse with me on the counter if he really wanted to. Do you know that?
Don't you be ridiculous.
What would you do?
I'd do something.
You wouldn't stop him because you can't.
I'd stop him.
All right, Phil, come on. Let's see if he can.
Stop it! You understand me? You're making fools of us. You're embarrassing me.
Richard, I am not your added appendage.
No, I told you to stay out of this. Now you sit down and pull yourself together.
Haven't I been there? I'm in trouble too, Richard, and I don't trust you anymore.
Silence. They stare at each other, having gone too far and fixed on the wrong thing in the wrong place and time. Richard suddenly bolts away. Clarice stands frozen for some seconds. Then she takes several steps toward Richard, but stops well short of him.
This one's dedicated to the Etheridges, y'all.
He strikes one of the strings of the violin. Pause.
Hey, what is this? I thought we came here to dance. Let's dance.
He drops a quarter into the jukebox and arbitrarily punches 3 selections. Cheryl and Lyle enter.
Get the van fixed?
All set.
Lyle hands Teddy 2 rolls of friction tape.
All right, this is the last dance, gang. Music's gone, and I'm going to ride off into the sunrise. Come on, Red. One last memory. You and Nubs lead it off. Get out here, Dumpling.
Angel comes out from behind the counter. She's been crying since the Etheridges exploded at each other.
What are you bawling about, Cheeks? My God, darling, be jubilant. Red, get your ass over to her.
Stephen takes Angel loosely by the wrists and begins to do a little 2-step shuffle.
Mrs. Etheridge, I believe this is my dance.
Man's waiting to dance with you.
Teddy hands the violin to Richard.
You get the violin, Jim.
Richard takes the violin, looks at it a moment, then places it on the table. Richard and Clarice stare at each other a moment. Teddy lifts a hand toward Clarice. She glances at the violin and moves to him. Touches her face. She stares with simple defiance at him.
My darling, I love your style.
He takes her to him and begins to dance her around. He gets a look at Angel and Stephen.
Jesus, Red, if you and Sweet Cheeks don't make a picture to warm the heart, I don't know what does.
Clarice's free arm hangs at her side. Teddy slaps it up around his neck. For a moment, she leaves her hand on him, then thrusts it back to her side. Teddy stops dancing, looks into her face.
Remember, darling, when you used to do it that way?
Puts his fingers into her buttocks, pressing her to his groin with such force that his arms quiver slightly. She slowly exerts herself against his strength, and slowly he allows her to break from him. She stares at him again with that simple look of defiance.
All right, Red, break! You and Cheeks pick new partners. Pick a new partner, Nubs. Move it, darling.
Want to dance, Lyle?
Afraid I'm not much for dancing with this thing.
Oh, sure you are. Well, there's crippled folks in bowling leagues.
I wish you wouldn't ask me to do this.
I fail to see, sir, that you have the right to any dispensations that the others don't. Do it.
Lyle and Angel begin to dance after a fashion.
Red, what are you doing standing around with your thumb up your ass? You see Cheryl standing there like a goddamn wallflower?
You want to dance?
No.
She don't want to.
Teddy, the car's ready. It's enough.
I'll say when it's enough. Dance with goddamn Red Ryder.
I don't want to dance, Teddy. I want to get out of here.
And I want you to dance with this boy.
I'm not one of them, damn it. I'm with you.
So what, darling? Were you under the misapprehension that makes you privileged? Well, it don't. No, you functional too, darling. Nothing else, really. Now you dance. You gotta dance, sweetheart.
She moves towards Stephen. Teddy steps to her, holds out his hand. Slowly, she passes him the gun.
Keep your eyes off her breast, boy, okay?
Stephen and Cheryl begin to dance. Teddy heads for Richard.
Stay away from me.
You dance with her, you sorry son of a bitch. The committee put a lot of planning into this social.
Maurice reaches for Richard. He throws her hand off and moves onto the dance floor. He stands with Clarice, but does not dance, her hand unheld on his palm.
All right, everybody dance, 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 dance.
Suddenly, he leaps at Richard and Clarice and spins them round and round, screaming at them.
Dance! Dance, goddammit! Everybody dance! Dance!
He derives no satisfaction from this and now throws Richard to the floor, and against Clarice's cries of resistance, he clamps her arms above her head, peels her pullover up over her head, and yanks her brassiere up, exposing her breasts. He bears her blindly to Stephen.
There, old boy! Tits! Tits!
And now across to Lyle, who backs away as if bitten.
There, old man! Tits! Tits!
But he thrusts Clarice away from him and slumps against the counter. Richard has risen by now and reached Teddy. As he grips Teddy's shoulder from the rear, Teddy rifles his elbow into Richard's stomach, turns and kicks Richard in the groin. Richard drops like a sack of cement. Teddy is panting. He looks about him a moment. Then with an animal cry, he tears the jukebox plug from The music winds to a stop. The lights go out on the machine. Clarice moves down to Richard, touches him.
Don't touch me! Please don't touch me.
Red Ryder.
He snaps up the 2 rolls of friction tape. He goes behind the counter and gets a large French knife and a small paring knife.
Okay, Red Ryder. You start taping hands behind backs and feet and make them tight, or I'll cut your pecker off if you have one.
He throws a roll of tape to Stephen.
Start with Sweet Cheeks. If her hands are taped, she can't touch you with them.
Stephen moves to Angel.
Get some food together, Cheryl.
Cheryl does not move.
Punishing me, darling?
Teddy comes out from behind the counter with the knife.
Gentleman Jim next. Get the big offenders first, huh? Hey, Clarice?
Stephen is waiting for something to cut Angel's tape with. Teddy slides the paring knife over to him. Stephen picks it up, holds it, looks to Teddy.
One last grand gesture for the Old West? Get on with it, boy.
You don't have to tape me, son.
What the hell's the matter with you, old man? Tape him up.
Stephen moves on to Lyle. Teddy finishes taping Richard by drawing his taped legs up to his taped hands and taping those together.
Now, here's the final ignominy, Jim, to be trussed up like a butchered hog and left on display. Somehow, you old buzzard, with your tit-sucking eyes and your ass-kissing demeanor, you make us just as sick as the rest of us, too.
Stephen goes Lyle's feet, then Angel's. Teddy moves Clarice to the opposite side of the diner, sits her down. He takes the 2-inch adhesive tape that was used earlier to bind Richard's wound and tears off a strip.
Red Ryder?
Stephen looks around and Teddy throws him the roll of adhesive tape.
Mouths.
Teddy tapes Clarice's hands behind her back. He comes around to tape her feet.
Yeah, Jim, you know, the truth of the thing is, there's got to be something beyond the Cadillac. You know what I mean, Jim? And beyond the violin. Don't there, darling? Yeah, well, if I took that thing away from you, I'm sorry.
Are you?
No. But I wish I was.
Hurriedly, he presses the adhesive tape to her mouth. Stephen has finished his work and is standing at the counter. Teddy turns to him.
Oh, I want one more thing from you, Red. I want you to take this knife.
He slams the French knife onto the countertop.
And I want you to cut that tattoo out of your arm. Then I want you to hand it to me to take it with me. Stephen. You despicable chicken shit.
Teddy moves toward the roll of adhesive tape, which Stephen left downstage beside Angel. As he does, Stephen yanks the French knife out of the counter, screams his insides long and open, and rushes with deadly earnestness at Teddy's belly. Teddy catches Stephen's wrists, heaves him backward onto the floor, and draws and cocks the revolver. He presses the revolver muzzle into Stephen's face.
Teddy!
It's no good anymore, boy. It's too late. I thought if anybody understood that, you did. But your sentence isn't to die, Red. It's to live. Looking back at that inept charge across this room as the high spot of your life's prime. Now roll over and put your hands behind your back.
Stephen rolls over and Teddy tapes him. Meanwhile,
Clean out Gentleman Jim's pockets, Cheryl.
Teddy, we're in so much trouble.
Yeah, well, you can stay if you want. Take your chances. It doesn't make any difference to me. Think you can save her, old man? Huh? What kind of game plan you got for her salvation, huh? Some choice you got here, sweetheart.
Cheryl looks from Lyle to Teddy, holds on Teddy a moment, then goes listlessly to Richard and begins to go through his pockets.
How long's it been since you had a woman, old man? How about that, sweetheart? Here you got Mr. Stryker, who can't remember the last time he had a woman. Red, who ain't never had one. And Sweet Nubs, who ain't never really been kissed. My God, love, you could become a regular welfare organization around here. Except that would be just one more roll of blubber for you, wouldn't it, Nubs? This tight little girl with her fine, pointed breasts coming between you and Mr. Stryker. Ah, Mr. Stryker. Get some food together, Cheryl.
Teddy sits at the counter and strips Richard's wallet. Cheryl gets together several small boxes of Wheaties and other cereal, some sandwich meat, and a loaf of bread.
Breakfast of champions. This is where it all started to go bad, you think, Jim? The Reverend Bob Richards pole vaulting into our churches and hearts for Wheaties! Gonna have this bronzed and sent back to you in red. You ready, sweetheart?
I'm not going with you, Teddy.
Teddy looks at her for several seconds, then goes for his fatigue jacket. That on, he tears the receiver out of the phone, gathers up his food, stares at Clarice a moment, and then moves down to Stephen.
When you coming back, Red Ryder? Tell me one last time. Tell me, boy. Tell me!
Never.
Teddy slaps a piece of tape across Stephen's mouth, dumps the revolver into the bread sack, and exits without a look at anyone. Silence. Cheryl seems frozen for some seconds. Then she moves to the edge of the counter. She is not quite able to make her decision. She comes tentatively out from behind the counter. She stares across the others, fixes on Lyle, takes several steps toward him. Then she hears someone coming and retreats behind the counter, pressing herself to the wall.
What in the hell?
After a cursory glance around, he makes for the cash register, much surprised to find the money still in the register.
What in the name of sweet Jesus? What the hell are you doing?
Cheryl does not move. Clark whips out his pocket knife and bends over Stephen. He yanks the tape off Stephen's mouth.
Gah! Ouch! Christ!
What the hell happened?
What the hell's it look like?
Freeing Stephen's hands and feet.
Don't smart mountains me, Red. It looks like someone held you up and didn't take nothing. It's what it looks like.
Moving to Angel, indicating Cheryl.
Who's she?
To Stephen, who has lighted a cigarette.
Just stay in there, boy. Lend a hand. They didn't take nothing.
Just some bread and sandwich meat and some cereal.
How much?
He shot that man.
Huh.
Clark hurries to Richard, begins to free him.
How bad he get you, neighbor?
You gotta take the tape off his mouth before he can talk.
Clark glances irritably at Angel, then carefully removes the tape from Richard's mouth as if he might be wounded there.
Easy does it here.
Call the sheriff. I'm all right. Just call the sheriff and don't let that girl out of here.
Starting for the phone,
She ain't going nowhere.
He sees the receiver has been ripped out.
Some bitch.
He turns to Lyle, whom Stephen has freed.
Get over to your station and get a hold of the highway police and that goddamn Garcia.
What about her?
You mean, what about her? She's going to be prosecuted. That's what about her.
Got the license number, Tommy. He's heading to Mexico. It's got a load of dope.
Time's short now. Move on, Lyle. You get across that border and that goddamn Exes will set him up in a hotel somewhere. Vamonos! Chop chop!
Tommy, about this girl here.
Hold it. He's taking a load of dope into Mexico? You don't take dope into Mexico. You take it out. He's heading back to California. Is that right?
Cheryl does not move. Richard drags her out from behind the counter and screams in her face.
Is that right?
You better tell him, miss.
Yes.
And Diego?
I'll tell him.
Lyle hustles off while Richard is thrusting Cheryl onto a stool. Richard turns after him, too late.
Hold it, hold it! I don't trust that man.
Say now, neighbor. Lyle Stryker's as trustworthy a man as ever been my pleasure to know.
Really?
Don't you worry yourself, Don. We'll get this fella.
I'm not worried.
3 men here and 1 fella did this?
He had a gun.
And what you do, Redbird? Just sit here on your butt, drinking up my coffee and greasing up the customer newspaper?
Up your hole, Clark, with a 10-foot pole.
Stephen tried to do something.
All right, boy, that's all for you. You're as of here and now fired. Sure that's all he took?
Took some money from me, about $170.
Tell you the honest to God truth, boy. After that bypass open, I wanted to shut down at night. But, 'cause of your mama, I kept you on and I stayed open. To the detriment of my nearly major source of income.
Hey, you're a goddamn charity organization, Clark. No question about it.
Boy, somebody ought to wash your mouth out with lye soap.
Yeah? And I suppose you're the ones gonna try it.
Why don't you both shut up?
Say now, neighbor.
Shut up!
Richard.
And why don't you shut up too?
Richard suddenly leaps at her violin, takes it up like a bat, and flies across the room, evidently intent on smashing it against the opposite table. Stephen throws himself toward Richard, meets him, and the two of them become a piece of still statuary, holding a violin above their heads and staring into each other's eyes. They hold unmoving for several seconds before Stephen tries to say, "I don't know why I did that," but says only,
I'm...
and slowly takes the violin from Richard's hands, holds it gently, and returns it to its case. Lyle enters.
Got the highway police out after him. I told them you had to be in New Orleans, and they said you'd have to come on down to the station and sign some papers first. Told them that you was shot a little and to have a doctor there.
It's very philanthropic. What did they say to do with her?
Lyle says nothing. He obviously said nothing to the state police about her.
Surely you're not serious.
He stares at Lyle, the laugh dead on his face. He turns to Clark.
Will you take this girl and lead us to the police?
Oh, so?
Oh, I wouldn't want to put you out. Any of you. I'd hate to insist on any adherence to the law.
Don't you worry none about adherence to the law. We adhere plenty.
All right, then. Let's go. Clarice.
You get on with that chili sauce. I'll be back to check the books in a while.
Hey! Take me as far as Baton Rouge?
I wouldn't take you as far as the front door.
Will ya?
Why are you asking her?
You don't have your clothing.
I'm ready to go, just like I am. Give me my pay, Clark.
What's your mama gonna say, boy?
There's a sting in that, but Stephen moves to Lyle, digs out a small roll of bills.
Here's $40. You lend me 35, and you buy her that car at Potter's for me. You want to do that for me still?
Sure, Red.
Just tell her I'm going to Baton Rouge. And when I get settled in, I'll write.
Son, shouldn't you check in with Mrs. Williams first?
You gonna give me a hitch?
No, I'm sorry.
We'll take you. We'll take him as far as Baton Rouge.
I'm not at all sure I'm going on to New Orleans.
Then I'll take him. I'd like you to come with me, but if you can't,
Look,
all right.
let's just go down to the police station.
Clarice nods to Stephen as Richard moves to the door. They exit.
Hey, give me my pay.
Clark carefully peels off Stephen's salary. Stephen snaps it from him.
All right. Now, the next time you talk to old man Foster, you tell him from me that he can take this whole entire diner and ram it up his rosy red rectum. You tell him that from me, will you?
I'll be sure to tell him, Red.
Yeah. You tell him that from me, and I'll appreciate it. And then you tell him, and when he's got that digested real good in his intestines, that he should ram you right up there after it.
Stephen nods to Angel, heads behind the counter to get his stuff together. Clark fires daggers after him, then grabs Cheryl and moves to Lyle. He looks at Lyle as if Lyle and he are somehow in it together against Stephen. He's about to say something, doesn't, and throws off at Angel.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Stephen comes out from behind the counter with his carton of Rallies and a Playboy magazine. He goes to his stool, smiling at Lyle and Angel as if he has just conquered the world. He stuffs his pockets with his pack of cigarettes and his matches, snaps up a lightweight flannel shirt, and heads for the door.
Stephen!
Stephen stops between Lyle and Angel.
You take care of yourself now, okay?
Stephen doesn't know what to do, though he knows he must do something.
Don't you worry about old number one here.
He walks self-consciously over to her, and in lieu of kissing or hugging her, he kind of mushes her with both hands on the shoulder and tells her,
You just worry about your own self.
Pause. Then he crosses to Lyle, stops, gives Lyle a little elbow in the chest.
So long, suckers.
Goodbye.
Lyle looks at her, but she can't look at him. He starts toward her. As he gets close, Angel moves away from him and back behind the counter. Silence.
It's good. He'll be better off.
Oh, I agree.
Yep. Got himself a real good future in stock if he can get going with Mrs. Williams.
I'll bet it's a real nice place she's got.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Don't have a restaurant in Baton Rouge where the help wears tuxedos less than you're running a high-class establishment.
I'll say.
Well, I better get to cleaning some rooms. Coming over for TV tonight? Sunday. Got Bonanza.
Oh, gee, I don't think so, Lyle. I think my mom and me, we had an extra special good one this morning. Maybe I just go on home and spend the evening with her and Grandma.
Sure. No need to explain. Maybe tomorrow night. You know you're welcome anytime, kid. Anytime.
Car just pulled into the station, Lyle. A car.
Ah.
For gas, it looks like.
Well, see you at lunch, kid.
Angel cannot meet his eyes. He stares at her.
Okay. I'm coming.
Angel moves to Stephen's area and picks up the remnant of his stale donut.
If you're feeling unloving, well, if you're feeling unfeeling, if you're feeling alone, don't you take it too bad, 'cause it ain't you to blame, babe. Well, it's only a game made out of all of this living that we got left to do.
End of